Okay, I'm going to show you how I get a crazy sharp edge on my Opinel number 8 stainless steel folding pocket knife. Yes, they are locking as well. So they're a great little knife. Ideal in the garden. If you're a gardener and what have you, these things are brilliant. Some of the best knives, well, you can get really, because they're good quality steel. You get a crazy sharp edge on them, and they fold and they go into your pocket. So whether you're doing cuttings for propagation or grafting or anything like that, even pruning or trimming off the old suckers on your tomato plants, these little knives are brilliant for that. Well, I'm going to show you how you can easily sharpen one of these knives, even if you've got a bit of a shaky hand or something. Because for some people it's very difficult for them to be able to create that micro bevel. Okay. Well, we're not going to get too concerned about the micro bevel, although we will be putting one on this knife. I'm going to bring it down here to where I've got my sharpening devices. Yeah, down here. There we go. There's my sharpening devices. And what we have here, we have a couple of diamond sharpeners. That's a 600 and a 1000. Really, you could do a little bit finer than that, but it's enough, to be honest. Depends what you're going to be using the actual pocket knife for. And we have an oil stone. Now, this oil stone is about 2000 grit. It's very, very fine. Now, I'm going to be using one or the other, so I'm going to show you both. Now, I do it a little bit differently than many people. Some people think I'm crazy, because what this does do, it does tarnish the flats on the side of the actual blade. But I don't care. I just want my knife to be sharp and do a job, and I want to be able to easily sharpen it in the field. Now, some people say, well, I just use one of them round steels and do that, one of them diamond steels, pocket ones. Don't do that. Really bad idea, because what will happen is, if you do it any more than just a few times, you'll create a bit of a wave in your cutting edge. You don't want that. You want that to be relatively, well, you want it to be straight. Not, it will maintain its curve. In this case, it's a convex curve. So you're better off doing it with a flat stone, or diamond sharpener or something like that. And that's what we're going to do in this video. But as you can see, I've tarnished the sides. I don't care about that. All I want is to be able to easily sharpen it, so I can sharpen it relatively easily. And it's not brilliantly sharp at the moment. But what makes these unique? Let me get a pen out, which I should have done earlier. All right, I'm going to just draw the shape of the section of the blade. Now, the bit about these Opinels is that basically what they are is they have a little bit of a convex on the sides of the blade, but they're pretty much that shape, like that. Like that. Okay. Now that is great. Makes it really easy to sharpen because you have all these flats on the sides there to be able to stabilise you while you're actually trying to put an edge on this, to sharpen the actual edge itself. Now a traditional blade might have to be something a bit like this, where you have this tapered stock of the blade like so, and then you have this bigger bevel, a grind, and then a micro bevel. It's a bit more like that. Yeah. Terrible drawings, I know. But anyway, the problem with that is, with both these, if you're just constantly sharpening the micro bevel, you will reduce the depth of the blade. So in this case, you'll end up going into the stock of the blade. So effectively, what will happen is this Opinel knife will end up being like this one, like a more traditional sort of knife, which aren't ideal as a gardening blade. What am I doing? I don't know. Still scribbles. So it becomes more stumpy here. All right. So it takes more. Well, you just end up with a less sharp edge, whereas this is more progressive, you see. It's a progressive edge. There is a slight convex here, and there's a very tiny micro bevel on the end, which I'll show you how I easily do this. It's so simple. Now, some people are going to think I'm flipping loony. I don't care. This is how I do it. So there's arguments saying, let's say, for instance, we're going to start off with the coarsest sharpener I've got here, and it's this 600 grit diamond sharpener. And with the diamond sharpeners, you do something like water or Windex or something like that as a medium to lubricate, to keep the blade. I personally, I use oil for everything, to be honest, because I don't like my tools going rusty. It's okay with this one because it's stainless steel. It's not going to go rusty. Now, I've got a bit of an issue here because I need to get it higher up. So what we're going to do is, if we have it on here like so, I actually hold the blade on the flat onto the stone, and I literally sharpen or polish off with the diamond stone, or diamond sharpener, sorry, like so. And I'm using the flat of the blade to stabilise my motions. That's basically what I'm doing. Okay, I'm doing it on a rocky old stump here, so it's not ideal. So I'm creating that sort of motion. I'm using that flat here, so I'm literally polishing the side at the same time. like so. And I'll do the same on the opposite face, making sure I maintain lubrication. You've got to have your lube, you know, you've got to have your lube. And I'll do the same on the opposite face. Like I said, this is a bit of a course with the 600 grit. You could go down to 300 if you want for your if it's the first time doing this, but you will need to work down the grit and do a bit of a little bit of work. So I'm using the sides of the blade to stabilise me. I'm not worrying about the bevel. Now what I'm trying to do is, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to take anything off this area of the back of the spine of the blade because I want that to maintain its stiffness. If I go flat, I'll remove all that material here and it'll get thinner and thinner and thinner. We don't want that. All I'm doing is removing some of the material on the sides of the flats of the blades, and the idea being is what you're doing is you're shifting that angle here that happens to be on there, you're shifting it up the blade. So you're maintaining this narrow point at the end, which makes it easy to sharpen. So if you do a little bit, but often basically, so every time you sharpen it, you just do a little bit more. The problem is, like I said, if you just use them round things, you're going to make that edge a bit of a roller coaster, and you don't want that. So I literally just do that on both sides for a little while until I'm satisfied I've got there. And I'm not going flat on that side. I'm just sort of how to put it. I've got flat on there, but then I'm just twisting it a little bit to put the pressure towards the edge of the blade, like so. And then what I'll do is I'll then move on to my next sharpener. In this case, this diamond one here, which is 1000 grit. Lubricate it again, and I'll do the same until I'm satisfied I've took enough material off the sides of the blade, but also going to the edge of the blade. Right, now we'll worry about the micro bevel in a minute. Just doing the first stage first. The micro bevel is the last thing we want to do, because it is what it is. It's a micro bevel. It's tiny, hence the name, micro. So we're going on the flats of the blade like so. You can do a round motion if you want. You can go, up and down like you want. But if you go up and down like so, you're not going to get the tips of the blade because you've got to try and get that curve. You need to sharpen or sort that curve out at the same time. But it's just the fact that I'm using the side of the blade to stabilise me. I'm not doing this, lifting up against that edge like so constantly. I'm using the flat of the blade to actually stabilise me. And the metal is coming off because I've got this black goo going on here. Basically grindings from the blade itself. Now this blade is stainless steel, which lends itself to diamond sharpening because you're making the blade wet. And the stainless steel doesn't rust, does it? Hence stainless steel. You'll get to the point where you'll feel it. So I'm stabilising with my right hand, but the left hand just putting some bit of pressure, downward force on the blade against the sharpener, like so. And if your sharpener starts getting a bit black and mucky, just wipe it off and start again. Now, for instance, if you were going to be using an oil stone, such as this one, it does need to be, ideally, be flat. Now, this one's reasonably flat. It's got a bit of a curve in it, but it's not too bad. I could have used my other ones, but I don't. My other diamond stones, not diamond stones, my other oil stones I use for my plain irons, and I don't like to put anything that's got a curve on those stones. I want to keep them perfectly flat because the plain irons need to be flat. So what we're going to do now is basically the same thing. That's not the next process. You can either do one or the other. So I'm literally starting on the side of the actual blade like so. This is finer, this one is. And then we just bring it round like so. And then you sort of, as you can bounce and forwards like that, okay, using the thin oil. This is a thin sort of like 3-in-1 oil. And I'm lifting the, it's not flat on it, twisting the blade. So I'm actually twisting the blade away from the actual sharpening stone itself, the oil stone, while I'm actually pulling the blade against the oil stone and creating, well, I'm polishing off the side for a start, but creating a bevel. Not necessarily the micro bevel, we're going to do that in a minute. So I start on the flat and I bring in, so then sort of lifting it away from it. It gives us that stability. Now this particular oil stone's a lot finer, so it's actually going to polish out, eventually it'll polish out all those scratches on the sides. It wouldn't really matter. Now some people think, oh, don't do that, you'll ruin your knife. It's a 10-quid knife. They cost a tenner, you know? If they cost a tenner, why you just want to do a job. I don't care what it looks like, I just want to do a job. All this tool tartary is just, it's nuts. Absolutely nuts. So you can polish the side off right off if you want, and just keep backwards and forwards until you're satisfied. But once you want to work your way to the edge, you want to start twisting the blade, so putting pressure on the actual edge as well itself. So now let's now I've sort of polished the sides off a bit, which I have. They are really polished off, that one is. And that one needs a bit more. But once you polish the sides off, I'm not editing this video, just so you know. So hopefully it won't be too long, but you never know. So I'm now lifting to the point. It's all about how it feels. You'll know if if you're doing the right thing. You'll feel it. It's about control. So you want as much stabilisation as you can possibly get, and to do that, the easiest way to get your stabilisation is using the flat of the blade. So as you see, it's a little bit of a rock there because it's not the sides aren't flat. There's a bit of a curve in the blade itself. It's a brilliant design of a blade. Oh, it's getting sharp now. So now what we're going to do, you can either do this on the diamond sharpeners, but I'm going to do it on the oil stone because this one's a bit finer. So a bit more oil on there, a bit more lube. You've got to have your lube, you know. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to create our micro bevel. Now we will create a burr as well, like we call it a wire edge. Now that's where you're sharpening the edge of your piece of metal and you create this burr on the end. It's like a little bit of metal. And the idea is you've got to try and remove that. You do it by bending it one way or the next, or you can peel it off by running it across a piece of wood like so. But what we're going to do, we're going to create our micro bevel. Now I've been doing that and just rocking it towards it, but I want to go a little bit further now, just to create the micro bevel. So I've lifted about 1/8 of an inch, 3 to 5 mil off the actual stone itself. A few strokes like so to create that micro bevel. Now I've done it on that face. So if I run my fingers across that face, I should feel a bit of a burr, and I do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go in the opposite direction, do exactly the same thing in the opposite direction. We're only doing micro bevel, so you ain't got to do this for very long. Like so. And now I can feel it in that way, and we'll go back the other way. So what we're doing is we're removing that micro bevel, that wire edge, sorry, at the same time. Oh, crikey, it's getting nice and sharp now. So I'm quite happy at that, I think. I don't overdo it, it's a garden knife, you know. But not be funny, that's almost like a scalpel, that is. So what I did there, I just peeled off the wire edge just by doing that. There's other ways to do it. You could do that on basically folding the wire edge, the burr, backwards and forwards until it breaks off. So you could do that. That's another way of doing that. I don't recommend it unless you've done that before. That is pretty sharp now. So let me show you. I should have got a bit of paper, shouldn't I? Oh well. I've got a bit in my pocket. I might have a bit in my pocket actually. Nope, there's no paper in my pocket. What about a bit of green? That'd be a start, wouldn't it? Oh, can't even see a bit of it. Oh my god, there's everything around there, but what I need. The weed. Well, yeah, that's really sharp. Come that way, look. Yeah, that's very sharp indeed. A bit too soft now. There you go. Yeah, that's plenty sharp enough. Plenty sharp enough. So anyway, that's how I sharpen my Opinel pocket knife. And they're brilliant little knives. They're only about a tenner. So there's no reason why anybody shouldn't have one, really. Unless you're a kid and you're going around the streets with one. Yeah, you don't have them then. Because they are locking blades, so technically they'd be illegal. So, yeah, to have in your pocket, but even though, not necessarily in France, but it probably is in France, but people don't pay attention there. They use them for their cheese. But yeah, they're great little knife. Like I say, this is the number 8, and obviously the bit higher the number, bigger the blade. But that is just an ideal size. Like I say, to stick in your pocket. It's not a very long blade, but it's absolutely ideal to do pruning, grafting, and all that sort of stuff, because they're crazy, crazy sharp knives, and that's really because of their design. No effort at all. Just slicing through there, no effort at all. Cut your tomatoes with it if you like. That's what I do. I tend to have it in my pocket all the while, so I cut my tomatoes with my Opinel pocket knife. Anyway, that's what I do to sharpen my Opinel pocket knife, and it's actually really, really easy to do if you do that method. And you only really need one oil stone, a combination of oil stone, or a diamond sharpener. But ideally, you don't really want to go less on your final sharpening. Don't go less than 1,000 grit. The finer the grit, finer the edge, sharper it will be. Crazy sharp, in fact, and that is pretty damn sharp, to be fair. You could quite easily cut yourself on that. But there again, a sharp blade is a safe blade if used sensibly. Yeah, don't cut yourself with it. That's my first bit of advice for you. That's my only bit of advice. Just don't cut yourself with it. Don't do anything stupid so you cut yourself. Don't cut towards yourself. Don't stab yourself. No, don't do that. No, not at all. Anyway, thank you for watching my little video. And maybe you've got one of these little Opinel knives and want to sharpen yours, whether it be a stainless steel one or the steel ones. The steel ones actually you can get even finer edge on those, a better edge than you can get on the actual Opinel. So anyway, it's time for me to go, so I'm going to say ta-ta, you know. So ta-ta. Please boop the old like button. Something just fell on the floor. Boop the old like button and maybe that little bell icon, so you get one voice in your pocket every time I upload another video. And I know you'll be excited about that. Ta-ta.